Welcome everyone to another episode of Closing Community Gaps. I'm your host, Zachary Borden, and this is by the Cultural Connector Initiative of Family Service Nova Scotia. Today I have the privilege of being with Tyrone Levingston, who is a community advocate for the community of Glace Bay here in Nova Scotia. Tyrone, how are you today?
I'm doing great, and yourself?
Good.
That's good.
Why don't you start by sharing who you are and what it is that you do?
My name is Tyrone Levingston. I'm the Director of Basketball Operations at Push Basketball here in Glace Bay, Nova Scotia. I've come here by way of professional basketball. I started in the Cape Breton Highlanders a few years ago in the NBL of Canada before moving to the St. John's, Newfoundland area and running the professional basketball club there before COVID. Then returned here back to Cape Breton, and once the pandemic kind of broke, I was looking for the next option, which we again just fell back into the things that we love, which is youth and community, and incorporated it with the sport that we love so much and created this for these young people in our community. So I'm just an ambassador for young people and community as well.
So Push Cape Breton, How did that come about?
I was pushed into this position, to be completely honest. As you guys see, Wade McNeil, which is my partner, who is also a huge community person, and we want to, be the change we kind of want to see in the world, and helping these young people learn healthy habits and skills that could carry them throughout life. We all have young people, we have children. And I've been brought up with the terms or the saying that it takes a village and children are our future. So kind of continuing that process. But to be completely honest, how I ended up with Push is I was doing personal training, like I said, after COVID broke. I'm just helping some young people I knew in the community that wanted to excel a little bit more. They wanted a bit more extra work. They wanted some different type of work, higher level, from a professional level, and that's kind of my field, my experience, 15 years plus working with professional athletes. This is my first time really working grassroots level. I've worked with some young people, but they were getting ready to go next level, Division I, and some went and played pro in the NBA and things of that nature. So I said, why not? Right now, I'm trying to figure out what's next, and was just in the gym working with some young people. Started training Wade's daughters, Emma and Ella, his twin daughters, and he loved what I had to offer. The messaging was the biggest thing for him because of my background and where I come from in Detroit, Michigan, and experiencing so much so fast was kind of a big push for him. To want to see more young people receive that type of messaging and push. I was kind of against it at first. I was really slow to agreeing, but eventually I was pushed into this position, and we kind of went with Push, but then it was also the acronym for preparing until success happens. So it's kind of a way to push people in a positive way, where you're not pushing people where normally people don't like to be pushed. So it was a good thing.
Okay.
It was a great thing.
I don't think you've ever told me that it's an acronym
Yeah.
and what it stands for.
Yeah.
I think that's the first time that's come up, so
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to have these strong role models. It's something that we always talk about when we talk about community.
Yes, sir.
Not just having the people in your family kind of help you out, but having those people around you, such as yourself and such as Wayne, that can give that extra push.
Absolutely.
And that can really motivate you. I feel like there's not a whole lot of external motivators. I mean, it's very easy as a tech guy. It's very easy for me to sit behind a computer and play video games all day.
Yeah.
But that's not what you should be doing, right?
Absolutely.
That's not the grind
Absolutely.
that we should be on.
Absolutely.
But that kind of leads me into something that I wanted to talk to you about. You're not actually originally from this community. You're from Detroit, Michigan, as you said.
Sir.
What was it like growing up for you there?
Detroit, it was a blessing in disguise. A lot of adversity, a lot of obstacles, a lot of hardships, a lot of things out of my control. I'm not shy about it. I was conceived to two young parents at 15 and 17 years old, so they were children themselves trying to figure it out as kids. I had my first child at 36 years old and still figuring it out, so I couldn't imagine with my mother at 15 and my father at 17 trying to figure out, one, how to feed themselves, how to take care and survive themselves, but now having a young person that they were responsible for, it was definitely a growth uh, that they both had to prepare for that I don't think they were ready for. But neither one of them ever complained, and neither one of them ever, felt that this is too much for them. Obviously, I'm still here and doing well. They both were fighters, and they fought for everything that they've ever accomplished in their lives. And both of them are entrepreneurs, right? My mother never finished high school. My father graduated from university, and I've seen them both go in different paths, but both accomplished a ton by just believing in themselves when everybody was against them. Back in that time, you know, it was really unheard of for 15-year-old young ladies to have children. So, you got you'll never amount to anything. You're never going to accomplish anything. You're going to have a crap life because you have a child. And my mother took all of that as fuel on the fire and fought as hard as she could. She worked 2 and 3 jobs sometimes. I'm a toddler at these jobs. I remember working the Burger Kings and the different, opportunities that she had, but I never started complaining. She was always very ambitious. She was very hardworking, and just took it as it come because, like she said, this is her life, right? And these are the things she wanted. I wanted you. I could have easily, did something to alter that, but she didn't, and I'm so grateful that she did it. But again, just watching them fight and go through the adversity and obstacles that they had in their lives, and it never even was easier as I grew, because children add more pressure, they add more responsibility, and um, it was just tough. I could tell you the proverbial stories of growing up with your house broken into, and you coming home, there's no furniture, or you're coming home from school and thinking no one's home because the family vehicle isn't there to walk in, and my mom's washing dishes. Where's your car? It's like, it's in the driveway. No, it's not. She run out there, somebody just stole my car, right? Like, and she's home. Somebody stole the car while she's home. So it's that life, right, where you kind of are wired and prepared for some of the worst things that could happen, because anything at any moment, at any time, could take place in a city, a metropolitan of 2 million people. Crime is high, violence is high, high tension, personalities and things of this nature. You take all those things on, but you learn how to, in those things, survive, and more importantly, how to sidestep the obstacles that could, or the pits that could pull you further into that type of behavior, when we're actually just trying to stay tunnel visioned and focused on whatever goal at hand at the time. For me, growing up, my mom never graduated high school, so that was adamant that you're going to graduate. You're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for me. So things like that, watching my parents grow up, kind of held close to my heart. So that's why I've tried to kind of stay the straight line and accomplish things, because I know what my parents have sacrificed and missed out having me. So I want it to be a blessing more than a curse to anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. I think our parents sacrifice a lot for us.
Absolutely.
I've been very privileged to have 2 great parents myself, who, I can say very appreciatively that I didn't have to go through those struggles
Yeah.
as you did. Thankfully, when I got home, the car was always in the driveway. But, that's why we need to talk about these things. And
Yes,
that's
sir.
why this podcast is called Closing Community Gaps,
Yep.
because it's about addressing those challenges.
Mhm.
And, we shouldn't have to live in a community where our car is being broken into,
Oh,
or
absolutely.
where there's things being stolen off the step, or any of those instances, right? I always like to reference Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Mhm.
And our first set of needs is our physiological needs.
Mhm.
So food, water, shelter.
Mhm.
And then after that, it is the safety of those needs. And so when we don't have secure food, water, and shelter, that really becomes the main purpose, the main goal of our life. And we can't
Absolutely.
strive to volunteer for things. We can't strive to do good for our community or to give up our time to anything else, because we're stuck searching for those
Absolutely.
necessities. It's called Closing Community Gaps because a gap is the space in between an individual and the solution that they're looking for in
Yes,
terms of a
absolutely.
problem.
Absolutely.
How can we make people feel safer in this community? How can we, share a little bit of our culture a little bit more,
Mm-hmm.
and things of that nature, because all of that brings us together. There's already communities that deteriorate from within.
Mm-hmm.
And, we would like to talk about the services. Nothing that you or I need to particularly do, nothing that family services or push needs
Mm-hmm.
to do, but just addressing these gaps opens up the conversation, right? And
Absolutely.
it allows people to see the world for what it really is. Online, it can be very filtered
Oh,
nowadays.
very. Social media is the devil.
It can
Seriously.
be.
Yeah.
It can be. So coming from what you came from, and to put a timeline together, when did you first move here to Canada?
I moved to Canada on different occasions at different times and different lengths. My first stint was my father first moved here when I was a freshman in high school. He was on a business trip that was supposed to move into Ontario for 5 weeks to expand this company, and then he would be returning home. I was just starting high school, trying out for the varsities of the world, and trying to live this athletic lifestyle, which I felt I desperately needed my father. So my mother's working, and she didn't understand sports anyway, but that was a major part of my life. And he moved to Canada, and I remember the day he called and said, "Man, I'm never coming back to Detroit." I go, "What do you mean? Like, you got responsibilities?" And she goes, "Man, Canada's beautiful. The people here are amazing. The opportunities are plentiful. People want to see you accomplish your goals. People want to assist you in your dreams and your passions." And I'm going, "Dude, all of this in 2-3 weeks?" Like, right? But my father was one of those outgoing guys that was always seeking how to get ahead, and just an overly ambitious individual. And he wasn't wrong. He invited me to move over. I was, again, going to my sophomore year. "You should move here, see if you like it. If you do, you should stay here with me. And if you don't, you can always go back to Detroit." I loved it. I absolutely loved it. But being an inner city kid, being involved at sports at the level that I was at the time, Canada at that time didn't offer me what I was looking for. Uh, Today, we're starting to have superstar Canadian athletes, which is amazing. And one of the things that our goal is to build here. But back then, it just really wasn't the thing. You had your Steve Nashes, who still was a second tier to your Kobe's, the Allen Iverson. So I wanted to be in that field, that mix, because I had a goal to play professionally. So it wasn't that I didn't like Canada. It was just like, I want to be where they're going Division One. I want to go where they're going to play on TV. I want to go where people are going to know me. I didn't think nobody would kind of know me here. So then I moved back to Detroit, and then in 2011, um, I was roughly a year or two out of university, and my father was starting the National Basketball League of Canada. And I came to work with my father in Halifax for 6 years before being fired.
And you've told me this story before, but could you reiterate it for everyone at home? You were fired
Yeah.
from your dad's job,
Yes,
and
and I love him for it.
why did he do it?
I love him for it. So it was just becoming, for me, in hindsight, looking back, it was time. I had grown. It was almost like being in university. You've learned everything you need to learn. Now it's time for you to go and be this individual that you have grown to be. Uh, I was a sponge working with my father. I was ear hustling every phone conversation, every business meeting. I'm paying attention to everything. I'm listening to every word, the behavior, the listening to the individuals that we're meeting. We're meeting with some people that in the U.S. I probably could never get next to have a conversation. Um, so it was like business 101 for me. Um, but I had grown and took on so much responsibility that I was starting to become competitive without even knowing, because I was always looking up to my father and thinking one day I would replace and take over for him. But I think he saw that as something that was less than for me. Why come in and take over something that I've already created when you can go on and create your own? So I was fired. Um, but I think there was a bigger picture behind it. It was a more so letting you free to go and be great. And I had a long conversation with my father about it, about how much I appreciated him seeing the vision before I ever even knew what was to come, and having the fortitude to say, let my son go be great, versus keeping him under his wing and continuing to have me held back. I got to grow out there and grow and make mistakes and fall on my own and get back up and dust myself off and try again. And we've had some success. We've had some failure, but to me, failure breeds success, right? You show me a man that's never made a mistake, I'll show you someone that's never tried anything new. So for me, it was fun learning. It was like getting to go out and learn. You know, you've been with the trainer for so long, and now he's like, go. And now you're out there on your own, and it was so I was so appreciative of it that, you know, I called him in for about 2 hours, just thank you, I love you so much. And where other people were highly upset, I had people in my ear telling me, oh, I would do this to my father, I would sue my father, I would never talk to him again. And I listen, I'm going, but why? Like he didn't ever have to bring me in and teach me the way he taught me, and also let me go be great, or try to be great. Which I'm still trying to do each and every day. We're trying to figure out new ways to be creative and do great things for ourselves, our communities, and our families. So it was a huge blessing in disguise. Yeah.
And that's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, those very valuable lessons. But I forget where I heard this from. Someone taught me one time about the 4 T's of growing up and becoming mature. Basically, the 4 steps is that you teach someone so that they understand a lesson. And then they might not understand every part of it. So then you start to give them those little nuances and why you're doing it. And then they transition into, okay, now I'm going to let you do it, but I'm going to supervise you while you're doing it. And then the final step is, okay, now you do it on your own. And those 4 steps build people to be the best and the most mature that they can be.
Absolutely.
With a very solid structure to fall back on. Because what I'm hearing is, I think you had a lot of adversity, and your father knew that you could handle that. And he knew that you built a strong enough backbone and a strong enough breaking point that nothing that you would ever go through in this journey would cause you to break. And that was very mature of him. I mean, that was, like you said, it's hard to...
Oh, man,
it's even hard from the other side to kick your son out if you had him in your employment, right? So I could see on both ends that that's a hard decision.
My father's big on tough love.
But it's tough love.
It's tough love.
And it really is needed sometimes. I find that we are very gentle nowadays with our parenting and with our...
Trust me.
Mentoring even. And I think sometimes that the tough love and the more rugged old school way can be beneficial sometimes. Rugged in the sense of, you know, life is tough. And we need to prepare them for that. We can't keep them in a bubble.
Absolutely.
What would you say are the main differences between what you see here, now that you're here in Glace Bay, and what you saw at home when you were in Detroit?
Well, obviously, population. Which is huge. When you have low numbers, things have to be a bit more intimate in order for it to have a care, versus when you're in a large population, it's so easy for things to be overlooked, people to be overlooked, situations to be overlooked, because there's so much more and everybody has an issue, right? You know, here at a smaller scale, it just has to be more of a us versus the world than anything. Because in Detroit, we have a big mantra on that it's Detroit versus everybody. You see the T-shirts, people are wearing the hoodies, because we're trying to take all of these 2 million different personalities and make them care about one common thing, which is Detroiters, right? You know, regardless to family, friends, or whatever, we're all from Detroit. And while this may not be at your front doorstep yet, look how important this is to the overall picture of everyone. And that's one of the things that I actually left Detroit, because I felt there wasn't enough of that. Coming up, it felt that way. Then as I got older, it seemed to kind of shimmer out where we don't actually hear the children are the future anymore. We don't hear the it takes a village type of mindset anymore. It's now kind of like everybody for themselves, and this is why I talk so negatively about social media, because it makes people compete for things versus come together for things. I really can't say what we absolutely need to change things. Do I have some small ideas and things that maybe, I was sitting in a meeting with United Way. It wasn't a meeting, but more of a symposium. They were talking about this issue of uh, children in need of housing, and children without homes or whatnot. And I'm sitting there because you hear this all around the world, right? And where I'm from, the numbers are so huge. You're kind of going like, where's Bill Gates when you need him, right? Like this is a task for him, right? But then I hear the numbers here, and I'm like blown away, because like 5,000, and that's a lot of kids, but that's not a lot of kids. I'm thinking of uh, entities or individuals who I know just on a small scale, it probably could change that with the snap of a finger. And not to say that this their responsibility, but these are the types of things that we need to, as a community, which is a family, as citizens of this community, of this family, uh, what's really important for us? Is it me and my children having the latest and the latest and the latest and the latest and the nicest and the nicest, and then I post and look what we're doing and look how we're living, and where I could probably still live a pretty um, productive life and assist. I've seen us come out of pocket to help the West like no other. They had the fire out there, and I was so proud of Cape Breton and the way we stood up for it, but we could do that here. We could stand up for each other like that here. Why do we have to send $400,000 across the country? Granted, it's a need, when we have our own fires going on right here that we could easily put out if we come together like we did for that. But that's just who am I, right? I'm a visitor. I'm a guest in this community, so I'm not pointing the finger at no one. I'm a pull the thumb type of guy and go, I don't care what everyone else could do, shouldn't do, or not doing. What is it that I can do? And if it's just a small, very, very small portion, then I can do that, right? And try to change minds that way. Because again, people have come from all types of, different backgrounds or whatever. They reach wherever they've reached, and who are we to tell them what they should be doing with their work, right? So I understand it that way, but I just saw the way we came together for something that's so far away from home, that I'm going, if we could do that here, look at the changes that could be made.
Oh, definitely. And I really like the pulling the thumb instead of pointing the finger analogy, because if we all pulled our thumb, instead of waiting for government or waiting for funding or waiting for the organization to do something, maybe it would get done a lot quicker. And I think that is one thing, just to nail it on the head, that happens around here, Nova Scotia, where we always point the finger. And we always say, this person's going to do it, this person's going to do it. And then it never gets done, and we go, oh, well, they were supposed to do it, but we had the power to do it ourselves, and we just sat. Sometimes it's worse watching and not doing anything.
Waiters wait.
Yeah.
That's what they do. That's the title. You go to a restaurant, your waiters wait on people. So you can't be a waiter and expect doer results.
Yeah.
And that's why you have doers and you have people who don't do, is because you have those individuals who feel like it's somebody else's responsibility and job to make it happen. And they're not wrong, because there are people with titles that are supposed to be doing, but we know how the logistics work, right? Not all the times as black and white as people would think. So that's why they kind of like, why is no one doing anything? And now I got to wait to vote to get somebody to do. And I've never been that person. I'm going, okay, what is it that I can do? Who is it that I could talk to that can assist and help in any type of way? And what can we get done? It doesn't have to be anything big, one small change at a time. Like our goal here at Push is just to be the change that we wanted to see, right? And it's not for everybody, and we understand that, but those people who do want the change, who do want to, a little bit of extra to do, that's where we come into play.
Very well said. And I love what you guys do here at Push.
Appreciate that.
I'll just make a note that when I grew up, there wasn't any basketball camps that CBU threw on a basketball camp,
Mm,
but that filled up really quick because it was really
absolutely.
the only one.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I wouldn't be able to participate in a camp like you have here.
Mm,
So the fact that you are here doing this really gives kids that opportunity
mm,
to learn how to be a high performance basketball player, to learn how to be a student athlete and take care of those things that come on the outside of the court,
mm.
and take care of those things that hit you in life as
Yeah.
you're going through it. Because there's a lot of similarities. When I was playing sports, we all played our role. I was the point guard.
Mm,
I had to facilitate. I
mm.
couldn't be going up there taking every shot.
Absolutely.
If I
Absolutely.
did every shot, we probably would lose, or I would just shoot terribly and no one would give me the ball and I'd sit on the bench.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we all have a role to play.
Absolutely.
And sometimes it is your role to shoot. If
Yeah.
you run a play and you get open, you got to shoot that thing, and you
Yeah.
got to take that opportunity when it comes. But it's a good point to make where, all five of us on the court, we all have a role to play,
Absolutely.
and we all need to do that role. The best example is Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman wasn't really the best technically in terms of basketball skill, but oh my God, was he a hustler? And he would go and grab those rebounds, and that was his role. And everyone on that team knew that, maybe if Dennis is cutting to the rim, you can give him the ball, but if he's standing at three, or if he's anywhere outside of the paint, he's not really someone you want to give the ball. And he knew that too, so he didn't try to stand out there the whole time.
That's not true though, man. Dennis was
No.
an athlete, bro. Like,
Well, that's
I
what I'm
gotta go
saying,
check
though.
Dennis out with the Pistons, bro. Like,
Yes,
everybody
yeah.
thinks Dennis is just this rebounder with the Bulls. They forget he was a part of the Bad Boys, and he would get buckets. And in university, I think he went Division III. He averaged some points, man. Like, Dennis can score in the old style power forward, but he was smart enough to understand that this is a team, and we got a really good team. Where do I fit in? Because just like you said, it's about knowing your role and knowing your gifts. What is it that I'm great at that I can add? Because Michael Jordan's the scorer. That's his gift. So I can't outscore Michael Jordan because, like you said, then I won't have a spot. I can't outdo this Scottie Pippen. So he was great for finding his niche in a room full of amazing niches. That's why he's one of, like, people look at him as a great defender. And I know this is community wide. He's a great teammate. People don't give him enough credit for how great of a teammate he is, because it's a huge self-reflection to say, I'm not going to try to score. I'm not going to shoot the three. I'm not going to do all these things I really want to do.
Yeah.
I would love to do. But in order for my team to be successful, I need to do this and perfect it. And that's so selfless that, if we had a community, or we had politicians, or we had a government that was selfless in that manner, who knows where we would be today. But the fact of the matter is, everyone can make a difference, no matter how big or how small. No matter how big or how small. I was sleeping on the floor starting my first business, and a friend of mine was on social media going through a really hard time. I probably had $30 on me at the day. He was screaming for help. No one helped me, this, that, that. I'm sleeping on the floor. I got $30, right? So 25 of that went to, this is all I got. But I hear you need it more than I do right now. And I'm willing to sacrifice and help. And I hope for that day, that moment, that second, the trauma or the obstacles, the adversity this kid was facing, get let go for 30, 20 minutes. Now, will real life kick him in the rear end right after? Yeah, but for that time being, hopefully he got to say or understand, somebody does care about me. Somebody is listening to me. And it's different for everybody. And I know some people don't look at it the same. I'm one of those type of people. If I don't have $1, you give me 50 cents. I'm thinking the world of you, because I don't know what you went through to get that 50, if that was your last 50 cents, if that was like, are you going to eat today because you gave me your last 50 cents? Like, we don't think of those things, right? But that small 50 cent could drastically change my life that day. I could have probably wanted to jump off a ledge, But just to notice that somebody out there actually heard my cries and cared may give me another day to say, you know what, maybe think, so no matter how big or how small.
I always say sometimes only need one person. Sometimes you
Absolutely.
only need one person.
Absolutely.
So we talked about a few challenges today. I always like to wrap up with some strengths.
Okay.
So what are some strengths of this community? I know you haven't been here, for your whole life, but since you've been here, what are some strengths that you've noticed about this community?
Cape Breton is a gorgeous island. I've heard some pretty negative things about Cape Breton before I ever visited. Some pretty negative things.
Could you
And
say any of them?
I won't, because they're not true.
Okay. Yeah. Fair
Not
enough.
true. Like when I visited Cape Breton, the things that I heard out the window, I'm going, they didn't know what they were talking about. And again, that's just somebody coming in to gain something or to be here without actually experiencing and seeing what it has to offer. Like I said, you don't send the type of money we sent out west if you're not like this. This is an amazing island. I think we suffer a bit too much from what you stated earlier about looking for someone else to do or pointing the finger. Um, when Cape Bretoners, yes, Halifax gets the benefits and this, that, and the third, but you guys got it, man. Y'all got it here, bro. Like, Cape Breton is gorgeous. I mean, the people are to a certain extent very warming, very welcoming. I mean, when I first got here, I had so many families that stepped up for me in a way that I couldn't have prayed it, right? Tons of great families that supported me, whether it was, just support, whether it was motivation, whether it was just, a friend or a conversation, like the local Y, the, Center 200, the people down at the Civic Center. I mean, I was coming in as an unknown, so I understood the skepticism. I understood the conservative, kind of stand backish and what is he really about. I understood that, the cautious aspect of it, because I was so unknown. But at the end of the day, I was able to generate credibility for myself. I mean, yes, I had been involved with professional basketball and things of this nature, but Cape Breton gave me my first opportunity to be an entrepreneur and to build on my dreams. This is one of the reasons why, when things happened during COVID, we returned back to Cape Breton. I had fell in love with the island. I now have a small family here. I have several properties and 2 or 3 different businesses going on right now. But at the same time, if it wasn't for me being here and being loved and appreciated and motivated and those things, maybe I didn't have the belief in myself. And I am a strong person, but the one thing about being a strong person, no one ever asks you, are you okay? How are you doing? Do you need anything? In Cape Breton, there were people that actually did. They saw through that tough tone exterior and they looked past all of that Detroit nonsense and hoopla and how are you doing today? And that went so far for me, because for a long time I was feeling like I was on my own. And to have individuals, that would send me text message or just invite me to lunch, like, hey, you want to go to lunch? Or like, you guys know I came in, I was grinding, right? So I'm literally in business meetings and my stomach would roar in the meeting. Everybody's eyes on me, and I'm like, let's just keep going, right? But they understand, no, let's take this meeting to the lunchroom, right? And I just thought that was huge, because in my head, I was just going, I've just destroyed this business meeting. I just destroyed this opportunity. And no, they saw past that. You out here starving, son, and you still working your tail off like that? Good for you. And we champion that. And that's why I champion Cape Breton the way I do now. Like, we spend hundreds of hours a week, not a month, a week in this gym. And it's because I feel that appreciation for this place that I want to give as much as I possibly can to anybody that wants it. So I love Cape Breton. You guys are definitely amazing. The island, the beauty of it. But again, if Cape Breton's going to take any steps further, it's going to be Cape Bretoners that do it.
Totally agree, and I always like to reference it. We didn't talk about it yet, but Learned helplessness has been a big thing for a lot of people around here. You point the finger, nothing really happens. And so we end up feeling like nothing's ever going to happen. And we kind of get this defeatedness with our attitude. And although we have these challenges, I never let it bother me. I try not to take it so personally. And then I still strive to make the change because I know that, like you said, like you got to point the thumb at yourself sometimes and be that person. I think one thing with this community, how welcoming and warming that we are, is a big strength. And when I was working in the government, which I was working out of Ottawa, I feel like when we get into big cities and when things need to be more productive, is the way that I'll put it, we tend to lose that human aspect of it. The fact that you're in a meeting and you're hungry, and you're only human, maybe you forgot to eat today. And instead of just allowing you to get food or something, a lot of other places could have just kept you there and could have just said, like, no, we're going to just finish this meeting. This is our time.
Absolutely.
Or, whatever it is. And I really appreciate that here we don't do that. And here that, we're making strides for better work environments instead of building more things. And I think that's the way that we need to go as a society. It needs to be more about the people. Because I always say without people that care in this world, we would have nothing.
Absolutely true.
And
Absolutely true.
it needs to be, our work environments need to celebrate the people. Our communities need to celebrate the people that keep us afloat.
Absolutely.
So I really appreciate you saying that. I also appreciate you being here, Tyrone. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you guys having me.
I know you're a busy guy, and it's been hard to track you down, but that's just because you're doing so much amazing work out here.
We're trying, man.
I appreciate Push and everything that you guys do, and you know that if you ever need anything from us, I'm always just a call away.
Appreciate that, man. Thank you, and thank you again for having us.
This has been another episode of Closing Community Gaps. Again, I'm your host, Zachary Borden. Thank you for tuning in, and take care, everyone.